I belong. And whoever wants to raise their hand and say, I've got it figured out. Kennedy thinks she's an out-of-the-box thinker, so go ahead.
So they're all different colors and all different shapes and sizes, but yet they all fit in a big shape.
Okay, I love it. You and I and Blair think the same way. No matter your color, no matter your size, we all belong better together. So our theme is I belong. So we're going to have some fun with I belong this morning to get us all going. And you have to make a choice again for I belong. Okay, so we'll stand up to get our blood flowing. You've got two choices again. Do you belong better at the beach or the mountains? So let's see who belongs better at the beach. You got to choose. Okay, and who are my mountain people? Okay, I like it. All right, have a seat. Do you belong better in a room that's quiet or in a room full of people? So do you belong better in a room that's quiet? Stand up. All right. Or who are my people? All right. I like it. I'm probably a room full of people. Michael's probably a quiet room, and Darrell is definitely a room full of people. Jeremy's a room full of people. The better we know each other, the better you can counsel with your co-counselor. Because sometimes if you're with a quiet counselor, maybe a blessing for them would be for you to say, why don't you just take a minute? Or to understand that your co-counselor has a lot of energy and maybe you're running low and you can tag team together. So, all right. Do you belong better with a book or in a good conversation with a friend? Okay, you ready? Do you belong better with a book? No book people in here? Or a good conversation? Oh, we like lots of conversations. All right, have a seat. Do you belong better baking or grilling? I'm looking at Kelton, who has made the world's best cinnamon rolls ever. All right, so do you belong better in the kitchen where you're baking or outside where you're grilling? Baking. Who are my bakers? I like it. Victor, what's your specialty?
Helping her.
Oh. All right, who are my grillers in the room? Blaine, what's your specialty on the grill? Hamburgers, Brody? Chickens?
Oh, hamburgers.
Hamburgers?
Pork chops and hamburgers.
Pork chops and hamburgers.
I make a mean grilled chicken.
A mean grilled chicken. All right. I didn't ask any bakers their specialty. What's yours? Just anything that you can bake. Anybody got a specialty? I know his cinnamon rolls are world renowned. You got a specialty? Chocolate chip cookies. We could enjoy some of those for sure. All right. Do you belong better at a fancy restaurant where you're all dressed up and the silverware is set out just right, or at a fast food joint with a bunch of people around a booth? All right, so do you belong better at a fancy restaurant? I like my fancy restaurant people. Okay. Or a fast food joint. Have a seat. We don't have a whole lot of fancy restaurant experiences around Milton County, do we? All right. Do you belong better at a gym or at a concert venue? All right. Do you belong better at a gym? Okay. Or a concert venue? There we go. We got some concert folks. Have a seat. All right, I want you guys to watch Elijah. He's going to give us a little 30-second clip, and I want you to listen for what he says about belonging and how what we get to do at Opportunity Camp, and then we'll dive into our lesson.
Hey guys, this is me, Elijah, and the thing I love most about Op Camp is being able to teach these kids and show them the glory of God. In John 1, it says, "Behold the Lamb of God who comes to take away the sin of the world." And I really feel like we get to introduce that to our campers, and we get to show them the glory of God firsthand. It's like he's being revealed right before their eyes with all of his love and compassion and mercy. And that's what I love about Op Camp.
Thank you.
I love what you said about it's like the glory of God is revealed right before their very eyes. And that's because God lives in you, and you get to share that with others. Love, hope, and compassion. All right, we're going to dive in to our lesson. We've thought about belonging. Who didn't belong last week? Zacchaeus, and Jesus brought him in. Today we're thinking about the lepers. And Darrell's going to dive into what it must have been like to be an outcast in society and to be a leper. And then Michael will dive into our text.
Good morning. It's great to see everybody this morning. I've been really thinking a lot about what Michael and Melanie and I, we all get together about midweek and talk about this lesson. And it's really, I've been thinking a lot about what it means to belong, what the guys, Melanie was saying a while ago, talking about the lepers, what they must have gone through in being outcasts. And what is an outcast? Somebody tell me, what's an outcast? Someone who's cast out? For what reason? Okay, so that's the second one. Someone who's cast out, someone that's different. That's what I was looking for. Because as I've been thinking about this since Wednesday, that's what happens. That we cast people out because of their difference, regardless of what it is, right? Maybe they're different from us. They're different. Maybe they're unknown. The things that are about them are unknown. So we can tend to cast people out. And when we do that, it makes it where they have no place to belong, right? And so when we look at, Michael's going to go over the 10 lepers in just a minute, but that's what I've been thinking about is this whole belonging and an outcast. What it means, it's different. It's what we're scared of. Show us the difference, the slide, Melanie. I was well aware of this when I moved to Snyder. Y'all know I'm right. Snyder and Sweetwater, they don't get along, right? So if you live over there and you're from here, you're kind of an outcast. You don't want to let that know. You just kind of glide underneath the surface. You don't want to let everybody know that you're from Sweetwater. When we lived in Snyder, I didn't go around wearing Sweetwater t-shirts. It wasn't good for my health. I'm just kidding. It probably would have been fine. I don't think the rivalry is what it used to be. But I do remember when I was in school, the two towns didn't get along very well at all. And so if you were from one or the other and you went to whichever town, you were an outcast because you were different from what everybody else was, right? You weren't a Tiger, you weren't a Mustang, you didn't go to the other city. So just as we think about that, the difference between other people, the people that we're going to be dealing with in Op Camp, some of them, they very much feel like they're outcasts. And what we want to do is draw them in to where they belong, all right? Because that is what God has called us to do. So here's what Michael's going to be. This is the leprosy, the outcast. Leprosy is horrible. Did this disfigured, start making your joints and things start falling off. There's still some leper colonies, maybe some third world countries around. They say that leper colonies are like they smell really bad because it's just like rotting flesh and things like that. So you can imagine, or maybe we can't. I don't know that I can imagine what it would be like to be an outcast. Because what would lepers have to do back then? I mean, they had to make themselves known, right? So what would they do as they went through the streets? Unclean. They had to tell everybody they were leper. They, in sort of a way, they kind of outcast themselves, really, because that's what the society had demanded of them. And so, people that would go through life like this, they didn't belong except to their own kind, and that's other lepers. And they were really unaccepted by society, and they didn't belong anywhere. No touch from other humans, no family. They were completely alone. And so, have no doubts that we have some people at Op Camp that are going to come in and feel this way. Maybe not the same, not leprosy, but you know what I mean. So anyway,
Almost immediately start thinking about intermediate school or middle school outcasts. If you were, I just want you to be imagining that, and then what Jesus does, how Jesus operates. Because I think you have an experience of people who've been left out, people who have been judged out, people that have been marginalized for whatever reason. So hold that in the back of your mind, and there'll be a chance for us to think about that. So I just wanted us all to have the scripture in front of us, just in case you didn't have your paper Bible or your electronic Bible with you. So we're going to read the text, and then we're going to walk through some of this together. So from Luke 17, 11 through 19. On the way to Jerusalem, Jesus was going through the region between Samaria and Galilee. As he entered a village, 10 lepers approached him. Keeping their distance, they called out, saying, "Jesus, Master, have mercy on us." When he saw them, he said to them, "Go and show yourselves to the priests." As they went, they were made clean. Then one of them, when he saw that he was healed, turned back, praising God with a loud voice. He prostrated himself at Jesus' feet and thanked him. And he was a Samaritan. Then Jesus asked, "Were not 10 made clean? But the other 9, where are they? Was none of them found to return and give praise to God except this foreigner?" Then he said to him, "Get up and go on your way. Your faith has made you well." Okay, so just as you experience that text, what jumps out at you? What do you see? What do you feel? Where do you pause? Where do you go, "Ooh, that's interesting"? So tell me what you see in this text.
Only one had returned.
Okay, so that's one of the highlights is only one. Why does one come back? Gratitude. Isn't that interesting? Only one in 10. And then I wonder about us. I wonder about our sense of gratitude. When have you been the most thankful? Come on. When have you been the most thankful?
When everything's all right. You find out you're worried and everything, but you find out everything's all right.
Okay, so one of the things that I want to think about is need. When was the last time that you hadn't eaten for 3 days? Any of you have an experience of not having eaten for 3 days? That's interesting. That's interesting to me because I think if you had ever really been hungry, when you take that first bite, you go, "Ooh, I'm so thankful for that." That's an indicator to us about how well fed we are. Have you ever? This should be in your thing. This is just in the last 60 years or so. So I'm 65 years old. So in my lifetime, there were no hot showers for everyone. I mean, almost anybody these days, you could take a hot shower. When was the last time you took, not of your own free will, but a cold shower? All right, you don't have to tell me. But then, when the hot water tank was relit and you had a hot shower, were you thankful? I wonder about a hot day at camp. Or the last time you were feeling nauseated, where your tummy was just wound. And then all of a sudden you go, whew, I feel good. Or the last time you won. Do you love winning? Because I think that is very similar to gratitude, where you go, ooh, wow, that was awesome. So part of what I want us to be able to see is about only one came back to say thank you. What else? What else have you seen here?
It wasn't even of Jesus' own people, it was a Samaritan.
Okay, so that's a big point here, all right? So if we talk about outsiders, so I think that is like the fifth bullet point. What if you were to plead for mercy? Have you ever been in your need, fully aware of your need? Leprosy made you an outsider from church, from work, from family, from the fabric that makes life work. No friends, unless you are also a leper. You can't have a job. You can't go to school. You can't go to work. You can't go to church. What would that feel like? To be left out. And then we're going to compound it. All right? So not only do you have leprosy, but you're a Samaritan. What's a Samaritan? Some of you will know the answer to this. Tell me what a Samaritan is. Be bold, even if you think, I almost know, I kind of know. They are. So they're not Jewish people. Okay?
They once were Jewish, right? And they forgot.
That is exactly right. All right. So I'm going to say some words that can go right out of your head because you don't have to go to heaven to know them. In 722, the Assyrians came in, conquered the northern 10 tribes, carried a bunch of them off to what is currently northern Iraq, and sent colonists in, intermarried with the people that they couldn't carry away. And so they became racially and religiously outsiders. So they were no longer ethnic Jews, they were no longer religiously Jews. So if you were a Jewish person living in Jerusalem and you go up to Samaria, you are not going to be welcome. And so if you think in terms of that, you think about, okay, not only am I a leper, but the religious people don't like me for my faith, and they don't like me for my race. I'm racially and religiously suspect. So this person is compounded in his being out. He's way out. I think maybe that's the reason he comes back to say thank you. Okay, so tell me about show yourself to the priest. You're going to have to guess, because I would think you're unlikely to know this. Why does Jesus send him to the priest?
They can't be allowed back into society until the priest declare them clean.
The priest is the health inspector. Okay, you can't get a work permit. You can't get a permit to go back to school. The permission slip to go back to school, it's the priest. So there's no local physician, there's no, that's the only place to get a note signed is from the priest. Go show yourself to the priest. Here's one of the things that I'd love for you to have in your heart, is that the work of the gospel puts you back in the fabric. If it doesn't put you back in the fabric, it's not done its work. The gospel is meant to put you back in the fabric. Your friendship, your church, your work, all of the places where you belong. That's what gospel, that's why it's good news. It's such good news for you to be added back to the fabric. Sometimes when I've baptized guys in the jail, so down here across from the WASP, and I will tell them, I said, this is step one. This is not enough. Your confession of your faith and your willingness to be buried in baptism is not enough. When you are set free by the state or the county or the nation, you got to go get a job. You got to go back to family. You got to go do the reconciling work. The gospel has not had its way until you are added back to the fabric. Okay, I guess two last things. One is as they went. What I want you to see in as they went. It was as they went that they were healed. I think there are times where we wonder why God doesn't just fix things. We pray and we wait. And I want to say, pray and go. All right? As they went. When you start moving in the direction of obedience to God, that's when life begins to change. Don't pray and wait. Pray and go. You've got to start taking steps. It's in that where the power is manifest. All right? And then, the last thing I want to talk about is one of the 10 praised God with a loud voice. That's pretty interesting to me. Would you do that? I'm a quiet man. I don't know any of you that know me well. I'm a quiet man. Not really a talker in social circles, and every once in a while in a sermon I might raise my voice a little bit, but not very often. I'm not a loud person. So tell me when you are loud in a positive way, not in a negative way. When are you loud in a positive way?
At a ball game.
Cheer girl. Have you ever been loud in a positive way? Is it artificial or is it real?
A little bit of both.
A little bit of both. Isn't that interesting? When is it real?
When they score a touchdown.
Yeah, when something really awesome is happening. Here's what I wonder about. Is heaven quiet? You suppose heaven, you're going to go to heaven and you're going to go, whew, I'm glad I get to sit in a quiet place. What's heaven going to be like? Do you have an idea? I would tell you, Revelation chapter 5, about verse 17, says, all of the beings all over the world, the living and the dead, in the depths of the ocean, those that are in heaven, all of the angels, they're all singing at the same time. All the fish in the sea, all the people who have died, and everybody and every creature who's walking the face of the earth, all praising God at the same time. It's going to be quite a chorus. Going to be quite a chorus. I think when you have had your real need met, it won't be quiet. Out of the depth of your heart, there will be an eruption, and it will be gloriously good.
I'm thinking of a camper who felt outcast when she showed up here on Sunday a few years ago, and she carried her little kitty with her. And I didn't think we were going to get her on the bus. And you guys worked and loved her, and by the end of the week, it was the burst, it was the joy, it was the cry out of being fulfilled, being loved. And she's coming for her 4th year this year. We had lunch with her just this week, and she's so excited to come. But she was not the same kid that showed up here 4 years ago. And we had lunch with middle school this week, and if I could tell you all the questions they wanted to know, it was specific names. It was like, is Avery coming back from college? And I got to say, she is. Do you know how special that is that a college kid wants to come back and spend their summer with you? So many of your names.
Yeah, when I was at Liz, I said, do I get Liz again?
So, you guys make a difference. And it's still rippling and bubbling over a year later, and they're excited. There was so much joy in the room. These were our kids that have been to camp with us for 3 years now. This will be their 4th summer. So thank y'all for making a difference. If you'll look at your lesson, I just want to go over the activities. These are the things that we get to do and think through. On the first lesson, it's going to say that you need some garage sale sticker dots. Y'all seen these before? We're going to make sure everybody in the circle, including you, gets leprosy. Okay, so you'll stick these dots on one another's arms and legs. And then you're going to ask them some questions about what does it mean to be lonely, or what does it mean to be outcast, and you will probably be surprised by some of their answers. So be prepared. Be prepared for that. And then what did the leper do to be healed? Who did he cry out to? He cried out to God. So you're going to get to do that. You're going to act the story out. You're going to cry out to God. Pray with your camper about kids that they've seen that are lonely. Pray about their loneliness. You pray about your loneliness. The more authentic and real you are, the more they will become too. You're not going to make it about you, but if you are able to share some things the way you feel, it will help them be able to understand how you feel lonely or rejected or outcast. Okay? So after you cry out to God and you pray about it, you get to take all the stickers off of your body and put a Band-Aid somewhere on one of the leprosy dots. Because the truth is, we're all changed by our experiences. We don't ever forget what loneliness has done to us, or how we've been rejected by a family member, or how we've lived through seasons. You don't forget that. It comes with a scar, right? So the Band-Aid represents scars, and we can learn from them and grow from them, and it's okay, because we see God's healing in that. So that is what the Band-Aid represents. So that's an activity for you to do. And then in the afternoon, it's more of a writing and journaling activity. And you're going to help them think through, maybe they're not an actual leper, but they've been at Op Camp and they've had an experience. And so we want you to think through with them their experience at Op Camp. How will that change them when they go home? And how might they be received at home when they get back all excited about Op Camp? How might they go back to school? And hopefully it's for the positive things that they can do different, changed by camp and church. So this is more of a writing activity to do today. And then on the back, you'll look at that real fast. There's 3 people. And we want you to help them recognize that when the leper cried out to Jesus, that was where the healing came, was through him. So who can they recognize that helps point them to God? Who are their big loves that could help save them? And maybe you're one of those people. Some of them have no idea who has pointed them to God, and so you may have to point them to some people at camp. Because what we want them to recognize is people that God sent them to help them understand about Jesus and his love. So that's kind of the afternoon activity. It's more of writing. You will do these today with your kiddos that come in here to be taught. I do have to share a sweet little story because it reminded me of the leper. I did not expect anyone to say thank you after last week's lesson or anything, but Creed Hodnett came up and just said, "I just want you to know, Miss Melanie, I had so much fun today. This was the best." He reminded me of the sweet little the leper that came and told Jesus thank you. All right. So last week, we divided into 2, okay? We've got a video to watch once our kiddos get in here. We've got some songs to sing, and then we'll break up. Oh, there's going to be a theme song for Op Camp, and I'm going to have you stand since these guys are already standing. This song is called I Belong, and once we start singing it at Op Camp, it's going to get out of control, and the room's going to be full and loud. Some of you joy today because we do belong.
I belong to Jesus, I belong to Him, I belong to Jesus, free from sin. I belong to Jesus, I belong to Him, I belong to Jesus, free from sin. I belong to Jesus, I belong to Him. He was lifted up,
He was lifted up.
He paid a costly price.
He paid a costly price.
He bought me with the blood.
He bought me with the blood
of His own life. Christ the King now reigning.
Christ the King now reigning.
He wears a victor's crown.
He wears the victor's crown.
Satan was defeated.
Satan was defeated.
When the blood flowed down.
When the blood flowed down.
I belong to Jesus. I belong to Him. I belong to Jesus, free from sin. I belong to Jesus, I belong to Him. I belong to Jesus, free from sin. I belong to Jesus, I belong to Him. He was lifted up.
He was lifted up.
He paid a costly price.
He paid a costly price.
He bought me with the blood.
He bought me with the blood
of His own life. Christ the King now reigning.
Christ the King now reigning.
He wears a victor's crown.
He wears a victor's crown.
Satan was defeated.
Satan was defeated.
When the blood flowed down.
When the blood flowed down.
I belong to Jesus. I belong to Him. I belong to Jesus, free from sin. I belong to Jesus. I belong to Him. I belong to Jesus, free from sin. I belong to Jesus. I belong to Him. People, we are free from sin.
So we will get better at that throughout the week, and Mallory won't look at me like I'm really cringy trying to lead the way. Remember that Jesus knows your name, and when you pass through the waters, He will be with you. So hopefully,
when you pass through the water, I will be with you, and the waves they will not overcome you. Do not fear, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by name. You
But after he meets Jesus, he will belong. This man.
Stories of the Bible. Zacchaeus. This is Zacchaeus.
Hey there.
Who was a tax collector and very rich. Tax collectors were hated because many people thought they were liars and cheaters.
Boo.
Zacchaeus lived in Jericho, and one day, Jesus was passing through Jericho.
What's going on?
Jesus is here! Woohoo!
Zacchaeus wanted to see who Jesus was.
Hey, excuse me. Hey, watch where you're going.
But he was too short to see above the crowd.
Ah, that's it.
So he ran ahead to a place where he knew Jesus would come. He climbed to a sycamore tree so he could see Jesus. When Jesus came to that place, he looked up and saw Zacchaeus in the tree.
Oh, hey there, friend. Who? Me? Yeah, you.
He said to him, Zacchaeus, hurry and come down. I must stay at your house today.
Oh, all right.
Zacchaeus came down quickly. He was pleased to have Jesus in his house. All the people saw this and began to complain.
Ugh.
Look at the kind of man Jesus stays with. Zacchaeus is a sinner. But Zacchaeus said to Jesus, I will give half my money to the poor. If I have cheated anyone, I will pay that person back 4 times more. Jesus said, Salvation has come to this house today.
What?
This man truly belongs to the family of Abraham. The Son of Man came to find lost people and save them.
So what's the time that you
He was asleep. Jesus says, where he was. This man is not even one of our leaders.
You want me to do it? Okay. This is how I think they would have started. Praise the Lord! I have been saved!